I'm Kiyan.
And this is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast where we put faces of ourselves all over our tomb. I think, nailed it! Nailed it!
Are we starting over, or are we just going with it?
No, we're going with it.
Yeah.
So, the first serial of season 5, first serial featuring Victoria as a companion, third serial featuring the Cybermen.
In like 10 serials that they've been around. Anyway, this is the first serial of... Wait, we already said that. This is the first surviving full serial of the Second Doctor. So prior to this, we'd had complete episodes but not complete serials. So Tomb of the Cybermen is the first time we have a full complete serial with the Second Doctor all in a row.
Yeah.
And he's been around for a full season, and it's only
Pretty
now...
much. I mean, there was those 2 serials with the First Doctor.
Yeah, it's only we're only now getting to this, so yeah, we're definitely in the section of the show where most of the episodes are missing, as we've been saying.
After this season, though, we're gonna look pretty good in terms of recovered serials. But I think the rest of the serials in this season all have reconstructions in them. So
yeah.
Oh well.
So anyway, as a start to season 5, this was
Pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty good, and I guess we're going back to our arbitrary. Yeah, this was good.
Even though last week we tried to define what a good serial was, but yeah, this is a good serial.
Yeah, it picks up right where season 4 left off, which might have been a little confusing for people watching it back in the day because it had been a few months. But they did a good job of recapping the most important things, I'd say.
Yeah, so
which was basically why Victoria was there and like what happened with her and stuff.
And so Victoria and Jamie are talking to the doctor, and the doctor mentions that he's 450 years old, which is interesting because he's never mentioned his age before. So we've now got some sort of a baseline.
Right, we find out a lot about the doctor in this serial. Yeah. More than any previous serial, I'd say. Mm-hmm. And the Doctor also, I noticed in this opening scene where they're in the TARDIS, says that he's perfected time travel. And I was like, no, you haven't. No, you haven't.
He just, he's almost there. As soon as he figures out how to control the TARDIS.
Yeah, as soon as he figures out how to travel through time, he'll have perfected time travel. So, yeah, they, the TARDIS dematerializes. I guess they were still on Skaro during all of this. I mean, possibly, maybe.
And then they took off and landed on...
Telos. Which was said, once. Because I didn't notice it at all in the serial, and I'm only now realizing it's called Telos because I'm looking right at the wiki. Did you know it was called Telos? I mean, I didn't.
Not till I looked at the wiki to verify the death count.
Yeah.
We were trying to keep...
The death count in this serial is just bad. So anyway, it cuts to some sort of expedition or exploration team, and they're in like a mountainous region, and they're blowing up some rocks to uncover something.
Yeah.
And they do so, and at first they don't see anything, and they're like, wow, I guess we just did this for nothing, but then they come across this giant building.
Yeah, hidden in the rock. A big building with some Cybermen faces.
And,
Yeah, fancy, I guess, stylized versions of their face plastered on the doors.
Yeah, and so begins the trend of these face logos appearing all over the tomb. So, yeah, they try there's these giant double door things to get into the tomb, and they try opening it, and the guy who touches them dies.
He gets electrocuted. And at that exact moment, the Dr. Jamie and Victoria walk up and are like, hey, how's it going?
So they think that the doctor might have had something to do with his death, but they soon realize that that's not the case, and he was just electrocuted. And I gotta say, this group of people is far more trusting and smarter and just better people than all the other people we've encountered in this show who don't trust the Doctor no matter what.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, it's a running trend of the Doctor not being trusted and having to prove himself in stupid ways, even when he should have been trusted from the beginning. But anyway.
So the Doctor checks if the doors are safe now, and he says they are. So Toberman, this big manservant of this lady named Captain, who is pretty sketch, opens the doors for the expedition, right. And they head inside.
And we kind of learn about the expedition crew members during this part. Captain, and it kind of like funded the expedition, but she's not the leader. And her companions, I guess, are what's his face, Klieg and Toberman. And then there's Captain Hopper, the ship pilot, and there's a bunch of other people who are not really important. And then there's well, they do all die. Well, anyway, there's what's the leader's name?
Perry.
Right, Perry. So yeah, they go into the tomb, like you were saying.
And so this guy named Klieg, logician, I guess, is trying to restore power to the base, and the Doctor helps him do that for whatever reason, even though the Doctor is fully aware this tomb holds the Cybermen. He helps Klieg turn on the base, and then they split up into groups. So there's the Doctor and Klieg, and I think Perry stay in the main room.
Yeah.
And
Victoria
goes off with Captain and Viner into another room.
Side room, yeah.
And then Jamie and this guy named Hayden go off into another room.
Yeah, and we should probably mention that this expedition team is like an archaeological research team who's trying to uncover the final tomb of the Cybermen or whatever.
Yeah, because apparently they've been extinct for 500 years, and the moon base, which we saw like 3 serials ago, was their last attack before going extinct, I guess.
Right, and so yeah, I think we can safely assume that, like the Daleks, the Cybermen serials are in order for the Cybermen, and also, unlike the Daleks, they are for the Doctor, too.
Yeah, well, at least so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably all going to go to hell sooner or later, but... so yeah, in the room where Victoria and Captain and Viner are, they see this box-looking thing, and they're like, what's that? And someone says it's used for rejuvenating the Cybermen, I think. I don't know how they knew that. But
Victoria goes in. Yeah. Genius.
It's a great idea.
Captain closes it on her, and then Captain's like, I didn't do anything. Luckily, the Doctor shows up, gets out Victoria.
Right. We also should mention that all the doors and mechanisms in this tomb seem to be controlled by a series of switches.
Oversized switches.
Well, better than comically undersized. Yeah, it's like a board with a series of levers. It's some sort of like logic puzzle, and you have to use different combinations of levers to open stuff. Yeah. And
meanwhile, in the other room,
with Jamie and other guy,
Hayden.
Yeah, Hayden.
They're flipping switches also.
Yeah, Hayden's like, hey, I wonder what these do, and Jamie's like, yeah, I'm gonna try these too.
So this weird, trippy, psychedelic thing happens on the wall. And they
and it stops, and Hayden's like, that was cool, let's do it again.
Yeah, so they flip some switches, and a Cyberman slides out, and the gun fires, and Hayden dies.
The end of episode 1. And also the beginning of episode 2, where we find out that it wasn't actually a Cyberman, it was just a Cyberman dummy, and it didn't shoot Hayden. There was a gun behind him that came out of the wall, and was supposed to shoot the Cyberman dummy, but he was in the way, so he died.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, he was a prime case of wrong place, wrong time.
And just general being dumb.
Well...
Let's flip these switches and see what happens.
Well, the stupidest part about it was that the psychedelic pattern seemed to hypnotize Jamie, and then they decided to do it again. And then this was the start of where Jamie of where Fraser Hines, Jamie's actor, started to, I don't know, but I felt in this serial he delivered his lines kind of weirdly. And this was the start of it. When the doctor and everyone else rushed into the room to find Hayden dead, the doctor was like, no, don't flip those switches. And then Jamie was like, too late, doctor. And he just delivered it unemotionally and uncaringly. And he was just matter of factly like, yep, too late. We flipped the switches already. And he does something like this later. But anyway.
So, yeah, they come back and someone sabotaged the rocket. And Harper, the captain, has...
his voice.
some sort of an accent that I definitely recognize, but I couldn't tell you what it was.
I'm pretty sure he's just a British guy putting on an American accent. A pretty good American accent, but he was overplaying everything. He was like, well, come on, guys. I'm going to do these things, and the rocket's broken and stuff.
It's pretty good.
I mean, better... honestly, it was better than most of the fake American accents on this show so far.
True, but Klieg, what was his accent?
I thought he was like Austrian or something.
Really? I thought he was like Indian or something.
Indian?
I don't know.
His name's Eric Klieg.
I don't know. Anyway.
No, I could see like Middle Eastern for Klieg with that accent. But anyway.
So the doctor has given Klieg some very convoluted mathematical instructions for figuring out the logic puzzle to open the hatch.
Right, because there's this sealed hatch that leads to some underground area, and they're trying to get it open, but they can't. And Klieg, who's supposed to be like a master logician, is pretty pissed at himself that he can't open it. And eventually, he does figure it out, but he gets it wrong, and the doctor corrects him, and he's like, damn you, doctor.
Wait, I thought the doctor just like silently flips the switch in the background and Klieg doesn't notice. And then it works the second time.
Doesn't he notice later, though? Or something?
He might, but I was pretty sure in this the doctor was just super sneaky about it.
Yeah, you might be right. But either way, the hatch is opened.
They open the hatch and they go down, and they leave Victoria and Captain behind. Because Victoria wanted to stay behind with Toberman, and the doctor's like, no, Toberman, you're coming with us. We're going to need your strength. Victoria, you can stay. And Victoria's like, wow, it's because I'm a girl, isn't it?
And the doctor's like, yep.
No? The doctor was more like, no, I need you to keep an eye on Captain. She seems pretty sketch.
Yeah, so they leave Victoria with the person who tried to kill her 5 minutes ago. Not like they knew that, though, so anyway. They go down, and the underground area is, like, frozen or whatever. Yes. And I like how Jamie still they wear these, like, parka things in the underground area, but Jamie still wears his kilt in, like, sub-zero temperatures.
The doctor puts on a cloak. I was really hoping that was the first doctor's cloak coming back. But I don't know. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. So it's frozen, and the doctor's looking, and he's like, yeah, it's pretty cool. And then the hatch closes behind them, and like, whoa, what happened? And then the doctor's like, maybe this control panel will open the hatch, and Klieg's like, yes, maybe it will. Klieg flips some switches, and the Cybermen de-thaw. No, de-thawing would be them freezing. They thaw.
Yeah, they're on this, like, they describe it as honeycomb in the serial, which I thought was a pretty good comparison, but they're embedded in, like, this wall, and there's, like, plastic sheets covering their sleeping chambers or whatever, and there's this scene where they're thawing out and breaking through them, and just look like cellophane wrap.
There's that scene later where they sealed in again, which I was pretty sure was just the breaking out scene played in reverse.
Yeah, it was. Anyway, they break out, and I think that's where episode 2 ends.
Victoria and Captain have a scuffle. Victoria's being held at gunpoint. She tries to tell Captain there's a little Cyberman guy.
Yeah, we forgot to mention that back before Hayden died, Jamie found a caterpillar, and it was the derpiest looking caterpillar I've ever seen in my entire life. And he picks it up and he's like, hey, look, a dead caterpillar. Oh, well. And he puts it down, and I was like, what? Are they just introducing a random... Dylan's just cracking up. Anyway, I was like, are they just introducing a random dead caterpillar for no reason? But no, it's actually a little robot that
Yeah,
the
because Victoria picks it
Cybermen
up and takes
can
it with
control.
her.
Even though the doctor says that would be a very bad move, but she does it anyway. Um.
And
Anyway, back to where we
the
were.
Cyberman comes alive, and Victoria tries to convince Captain there's something behind her, and she doesn't believe Victoria. And then all of a sudden it jumps on Captain, and she's like, ah!
Yeah, I thought it killed Captain.
Yeah, well, that was the intention, was that it was supposed to look like that. But Victoria picks up the gun and shoots the Cyberman.
Thus saving everyone.
Well,
except for all the other bad stuff that happens.
Well, she didn't save everyone who was down in the hole because she went and go get the captain to come help her open the hatch. But that's in episode 3.
Right. Hopper, I think we mentioned, went back to the ship because someone sabotaged the ship and he needs to fix it, and he doesn't want anyone there because they'll get in his way. And they never expanded on that plot point at all. I mean, I think we can assume that Klieg and Kaftan were the ones who sabotaged the ship, but no.
I was pretty sure it was Toberman. Like, I was pretty sure there was that scene where Toberman snuck off outside, and then he came back later, and then later the captain comes like, someone sabotaged the ship.
Oh, huh, I didn't catch that. And
there was a lot of sneaking around in this episode.
Yeah, honestly, I was half expecting Hopper to be in league with Kaftan and Klieg, and like he sabotaged his own ship, and he was just trying to have them stay there.
Well, you know, guys, the ship is just broken. So I don't know what happened. But so there's the cyber controller. This is the first appearance of the cyber controller, as well as the cybermats. Both things which come up a lot later, especially in the reboot. But Klieg tries to convince the cyber controller to join this Brotherhood of Logicians, and the cyber controller's like, "Nope, you will be like us." And then he just starts choking Klieg.
Yep. There were a bunch of times where I thought Klieg was going to die, and he doesn't.
It's a bunch of times where a bunch of people looked dead, but then weren't dead and came back 5 minutes later.
Yep. Especially at the end, that thing happened.
Anyway, almost there.
Well, I wanted to talk about the cyber controller's design and the Cybermen's design in this serial in general. First of all, I didn't like the cyber controller's design. I didn't like his head. He looked way less cool than the other Cybermen because it looked like he was just wearing a helmet. Like a regular, everyday helmet.
Well, it differentiated him from everyone else.
It did, but I don't think... differentiation is definitely important, but this was just worse. I mean, he looked way worse than the regular Cybermen.
Well, how else would you differentiate him? You're working with a maximum of 70 shades of grey.
Well...
50 shades of grey.
The main thing that differentiated him was his different helmet, right? And they could have given him a more elaborate helmet than the other Cybermen, which in my mind would have solidified him more as their leader, but instead they just gave him a plain helmet.
Well, in the reboot, you can see the cyber controller's brain, and that's how you know he's the cyber controller.
Oh, that's pretty creepy. That's pretty cool. But I mean, in this, I felt like they just kind of cheaped out on it.
Well, they were working with grey.
I also... This might just be me, but I thought the Cybermen costumes looked way worse in this serial. And I thought that was...
pretty sure they're the same as the moon base.
Yeah, that's why I kind of thought to myself, why do I think these look worse? They probably just reused the same costumes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, maybe it's because it wasn't a reconstruction, but they just looked lower quality to me. Maybe it's because I was seeing them in motion. But anyway, Klieg looks like he dies. He's not dead. He's just knocked out.
Yeah, and the Cybermen recognize the Doctor, and they explain why they were on the moon base, finally, which is good. I mean, it's a serial late, but they mention that...
A serial late?
Well, they also explain how the Cybermen survived the Mondas blowing up, because...
If you were watching this, like, in the 60s, this would come, like, 6 months later. You probably wouldn't even remember the moon base very well.
Anyway, so they mentioned that Mondas was only their first planet, so it wasn't their only planet, but they were dying out.
No.
After Mondas gets blown up, so they attacked the moon base because they needed more like parts and stuff, and then the Doctor kind of messed that up. So they basically almost went extinct. So they sealed themselves in these tombs to wait for someone to come and thaw them out and re-energize them.
Right, they said they knew someone would come eventually, and that they used such complicated logic puzzles because they only wanted the most brilliant people to unthaw.
Only took 500 years.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's a pretty terrible plan because, like, there's no guarantee that any of that will happen. And
Hopper comes down, uses some smoke grenades, and they all escape except for Toberman.
I like the scene where Hopper was going down into the underground area, and this other guy, Callum, was there too. And Victoria wanted to come, but Hopper stops her. And then she walks over to Callum, and she's like, "Is he always like that?" And Callum's just like, "Yeah, he is."
They also keep calling her Vic, and she's like, "Call me Victoria."
She's from the Victorian era. It's probably why they did that. I mean,
maybe it's Queen Victoria. Secretly.
No.
So they figured out Klieg and Captain are, pretty sketch and have basically tried to kill everyone in this whole serial. So they decide to lock him into the room that Jamie and Hayden were in earlier, while they try to figure out if they can get Toberman back.
Right, because Toberman's still in the hatch.
And, they decided to lock Klieg and Captain in the room with a gun. So they steal the gun off the wall. And
then Klieg just
This is the start where Klieg goes off the deep end. And then he goes even more off the deep end into season episode 4.
Yeah, so Captain, I guess, tries to manipulate Klieg because Klieg kind of gives up hope, but Captain still wants to utilize the Cybermen. So in one line from Captain, Klieg goes from completely against controlling the Cybermen to wanting to take over the universe with their power. And I was like, if that's all it takes to convince you, then wow.
So Klieg breaks out and he's like, "Oh yeah? Fight against this, Doctor."
Well,
and then he's like, "Doctor, no!"
Well,
and then
there was the scene with Victoria first, though, I think.
Which one?
The one where the Doctor talks to Victoria.
No, that's later.
It's later? Is that after Klieg goes... Well, anyway. Yeah, so I also wanted to talk about the scene where you think the Doctor gets shot, which is at the end of episode 3. So yeah, like you were saying, Klieg comes out, and there's the whole Doctor no thing. But that you would think Klieg would just come out, and you'd hear, "No, Doctor!" And then you get shot, right? All in, like, a couple seconds. But no. This took, like, 30 seconds. Well, not 30 seconds, but this took quite a while. Klieg comes out, and he raises up the gun super slowly, and I guess no one reacts. And then you hear, "No, Doctor!" And then Klieg just stands there holding the gun for another couple seconds, and then shoots. And I was like, what?
Oh, you're right. The scene with Victoria does happen before that. Because there was the scene with the Cybermats, and then there was the Victoria... No, there was the Victoria scene, then the Cybermats, then the Klieg scene.
Yeah. So, we should probably talk about that.
Yeah.
It's a pretty important scene. So, they're all sleeping, and Victoria is keeping watch, and the Doctor wakes up, and he starts talking to Victoria, and she tells him how she's pretty sick.
Wait. This is a really mundane point, but I just realized the Doctor checks his watch to find the time. Did he, like, sync his watch with local time when he arrived or something?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess. I mean, unless he's just... Maybe it's Scarro time.
What if Telos has, like, a 26-hour day, and he's just wearing, like, a 24-hour watch?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, his watch is basically useless unless they're on Earth. And even then, it's still useless because he hasn't synced it based on where they are.
Okay, that was just a really mundane point I wanted to make.
It's pretty funny, though. So yeah, he starts talking to Victoria, and Victoria's like, "Hey, I'm pretty sad that my dad's dead." To be expected. And the Doctor's like, "Yeah, sucks." No.
He was like, "Yeah, it won't always be a sad memory." And she's like, "Well, I don't think you can understand. You're so old." And he's like, "Oh, wow." And she's like, "Yeah, I don't think you can even remember your family." Then he goes on this really long monologue.
Yeah, he says that he usually doesn't remember his family, but when he wants to remember them, it's pretty easy to. And he usually just keeps his mind on his adventures and doing cool things, and then when he wants to think of his family, he does. So he tells Victoria that she should probably do that too, so she'll remember her father in a better way. Mm-hmm. Have fun on their adventures that she was forced to go on after her dad was massacred. No, not massacred, because you can't massacre one person, but...
Her dad sacrificed himself to save the Doctor.
Yeah. I don't think she knows that, actually. I mean, that's not really that important, but I thought that was an interesting point. When I was watching
Yeah, I
this,
don't
I was
think she
like,
knows that.
yeah, maybe she'll find out later. Maybe it'll be part of her character development. Or they can just not have that come up at all like they do with the usual character development on the show. Anyway, yeah, that was a pretty Disney scene.
Disney. That was a pretty Disney scene.
Honestly, it was kind of like, just get it over with during this. But then when it was over, I was like, yeah, that was pretty cool.
It was a pretty big character development moment for the Doctor.
Yeah, it was.
Which I'll talk about later, because I actually want to talk about that. But we've got to finish this summary first with episode 4.
And then after that Cybermat's attack, but they shoot all of them and a bunch of them die. But
don't shoot them, they electrocute them with the wire.
Okay, well, don't they shoot some of them? Well, they shoot one of them. Yeah. And then they electrocute all of them with the stuff. And, yeah, we're not counting the Cybermats. Because 1, we don't know how many died, and 2, we decided that they're just
Yeah, well, my logic was like, even though the Doctor says their life, are we going to count, like, if a rat dies, are we going to count that rat? No! So why should we count the Cybermats?
Yeah. And I was going to say we probably would count a rat if it died, but then I remembered there were already 3 rats who died in the Daleks' master plan, and we didn't count them. So yeah, we're not counting the Cybermats. And anyway, yeah, at the end of episode 3, you think the Doctor gets shot, but surprise, episode 4, he doesn't. And yeah, it's actually Callum.
Yeah, he just hits him in the shoulder, too. And they're like,
you killed Callum. But then he was like, no, I didn't. And he didn't.
Spared him. Like, no, you missed.
Jamie was just like, no, you missed. And then Klieg makes his way down the hatch because he wants to go control the Cybermen again.
Well, no, the Cyber Controller comes up.
Oh, yeah, he orders the Cyber Controller
with Toberman.
Who's now been transformed into a Cybermanized human
Which they don't know, even though his whole right arm is a Cyberman arm now.
And he doesn't have any more emotions. And he's following the Cyber Controller.
Anyway, so this pretty cool scene where the Cyber Controller like mind waves to Toberman. There's like these waves on the screen.
Yeah, those waves are pretty cool. He did that earlier too, to Jamie when they knocked out Jamie before, but then Jamie was okay.
And so Klieg is like, all right, I've got a gun. Now you're going to listen to me, Cyber Controller. Go in there and revitalize yourself. Oh yeah, Doctor, Jamie, Victoria, Perry, you go in there too.
So they do that. And the Doctor confronts the Cyber Controller, and they start working together against the common enemy of Klieg.
Klieg was so insane, he got the Doctor to work with the Cybermen.
So
the Doctor revitalizes the Cyber Controller, and Victoria didn't go inside because she tells Klieg, like, oh, didn't you know there's a gun in there too? And Klieg's like, wait, what? Shoot.
Get it? Shoot. Gun.
Huh? Anyway, they are like, whoa. Sorry, I zoned out for a second. They're like, whoa.
Zoned out mid-sentence?
Sorry. My mind is somewhere else. So Klieg's like, better not take any unnecessary risks. We'll just capture them when they come out.
But that doesn't work.
Yeah, the Cyber Controller comes out.
And kills Captain.
Steals Klieg's gun, kills Captain. Well, there was this humorous scene where they tried to like tie a rope around the revitalization chamber and keep him in, and the Doc's like, okay, Jamie, you sure you tied it? And he's like, yeah, like some spirit thing couldn't even get out of that. And then the Cyber Controller just breaks out. The Doc's like, remind me to give you a lesson in tying knots later, Jamie.
Yep. Looks like Jamie was never a Boy Scout.
Boy Scouts probably didn't exist in his time.
Exactly. That's why he never was one. But yeah, the Cyber Controller kills Klieg, and that somehow snaps Toberman out of his controlled state. So he kills the Cyber Controller.
Well, appears to.
Okay, yeah, he appears to, but I kind of wanted to lead up to that reveal that he's actually still alive. But anyway, yeah, it looks like he brutally murders the Cyber Controller. He like picks him up and carries him and throws him full force onto the control panel, and you see his lifeless body flailing all over the place. I mean, obviously it was just a dummy.
But
yeah.
Klieg,
while no one's watching, he makes his way back down underground.
Yeah, and the doctor follows him with Jamie and Perry, right?
Yeah.
Perry. And so Klieg's like, yeah, so the cyber control is dead now. Now I can be in control. And they're just like, Klieg, what?
So the doctor says that he realizes how brilliant Klieg is now, and that he wants to be his lackey. And Klieg is like, yes, it's not too late. You can be my underling.
And the doctor's like, yeah, no, I just wanted to see how mad you were, and you truly are mad.
Klieg's like, I thought that was pretty funny.
You just forfeited your right to live, Doctor. But then Klieg is like, you know what? I'm just going to give you the free parts to the Cybermen. Oh, and Toberman went with him.
Yeah. So, yeah, Klieg... I thought Klieg's actor was pretty good in this scene.
So now he gets strangled by a Cyberman and dies.
Yeah.
And Toberman kills the Cybermen, and Jamie and the Doctor freeze all the rest of them.
Yeah, we also neglected to mention that Jamie killed 2 Cybermen earlier.
Oh yeah, he shot them with a gun.
I'm guessing he's number 1 on the death count at this point.
You mean the kill count?
Kill count.
Well, I mean, if we're excluding the first Doctors, I'm just gonna kill every single Dalek on this planet.
Well, yeah, second Doctor has M plus N, which was Macra plus a bunch of Daleks, so if we're excluding
Jamie doesn't exceed Ben yet, or the first Doctor.
Yeah, Jamie's only at 6 at this point. Ben
first Doctor's at 8.
Doctor at 7 and 8.
I think Jamie will surpass them both by the end of his run at this rate.
Yeah, probably. So the Doctor and Jamie use the control panel to refreeze the Cybermen.
And they escape the hatch, and the Doctor's like, alright, I'm gonna electrify everything, so whoever touches it will get electrocuted. Now I need you all to go outside. And then the cyber controller is like, yo, I'm still alive.
And so everyone else is outside, but Jamie and the Doctor are still inside, and they decide to run in different directions to confuse the cyber controller, and it works, and they make it outside, but they still need to close the door, and they can't because I guess as soon as it closes, it'll electrocute them. Mm-hmm. So they start using these wooden plank things to close it, but it's not working because the cyber control is really strong.
Then Tobin's like, out of my way. And he closes the door with his bare hands, and as soon as it closes, both the cyber controller and Toberman get electrocuted and die.
Yep, Toberman sacrifices himself to eliminate the threat of the Cybermen.
Well...
Except not, because everyone says their farewells, the Doctor leaves, and then we see a Cybermat running around outside.
Well, you know, Jamie does go, so that's the end of the Cybermen forever, right? And the Doc's like, yeah, but I don't like to make predictions, so...
Yeah, they're obviously going to appear again. Although
when? Who knows?
I'm guessing sometime this season.
Next serial.
Wow.
No, I don't know.
And yeah, I guess that's leading into our post-summary stuff, and also leading into what I wanted to mention. I've been bagging on how often they're reusing the Cybermen and the Daleks. Like, season 4, they both showed up twice. But now that I think about it, we're watching these way faster than they were intended to be watched. So, like, if you were actually watching these on TV in the 60s, then there would actually be quite a while between the appearances of the Cybermen and the Daleks. Because, like,
yeah,
there's only one a week, so it would take a couple months for you to get to the next Cybermen or Dalek serial.
Yeah.
So I'm more okay with it knowing once I've realized that. But yeah. Also, I wanted to say that this serial felt really streamlined, which was a good thing. Like,
yeah,
a lot of serials, like we always say, have content that could have been shortened or was just unnecessary. But this, I didn't feel like that happened at all, this serial. Like, pretty much everything was important and was all necessary, and it all advanced the plot and didn't waste any time.
Yeah. I mean, when I was watching it, I actually wanted to watch the next episode, so like, hey, what happens? Even though I ended up skipping a day due to other things. I watched 2 on one day, which was actually pretty good for this serial, because I would have been so lost. So I'd watched episode 3 and then waited a day to watch episode 4.
Yeah, I think we can also attribute, I also felt that the serial was pretty I felt I wanted to get through it because it was good, but I think we can also attribute that to no reconstructions. Yay!
Although next week.
Oh god, next week.
Yeah, for the rest of the season, all the serials have 6 episodes, so that's gonna be exciting.
So yeah, this was Victoria's first serial as a companion, and
I like her better than like Barbara or Susan. Really? She's done a lot more in her first serial than they ever did. Dodo and Vicky too. She's a lot more. She's a lot more independent than the other ones were.
Yeah, she is. But okay, if we're only comparing first serials, because it's unfair to compare like Barbara's entire run to Victoria. If we're only comparing first serials, she definitely did more than Barbara and Susan.
Vicky's first serial was The Rescue,
and the Romans, if we're counting the one after that where she was actually like solidified as a companion.
Even that one where all she did was follow the doctor around and watch him burn down Rome.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think she's particular. Yeah. I don't think she's particularly one of my favorite companions yet. I do like her, and I like how snarky she is with everyone. Like Hopper. But yeah, I mean, I don't like her as much as you do so far, but I don't know. I think she'll end up being near the top of my companions list if she keeps up what she's been doing.
Yeah,
she did more than Jamie in this serial, which was nice because I wouldn't want them to.
Jamie did vicariously get Hayden killed.
Yeah, basically. But yeah. No, I mean I don't mind that they would have an uneven amount of things for the characters to do in a first serial for a companion, because like I wouldn't want Jamie to be doing a bunch of stuff and not have not give Victoria a chance in the spotlight for her first serial.
Yeah, well,
even though the Doctor does far more than either of them in this.
True, he does run around being sneaky, as is characteristic for the second Doctor. Yeah, so this leads into a discussion I wanted to have about the second Doctor and his character development in this serial, as well as like a couple serials before. Specifically, the quote that made me think about this was when he was talking to Victoria, and he's like, "Yeah, I can remember my family," but part of what I'm expecting for season 5 is, so the first Doctor was kind of like, kind of gruff and grandfatherly, and
yeah,
you could tell he cared, but he was still gruff. Whereas the second Doctor, now that he basically has to be a father figure for Victoria, because he basically
he was responsible for her
caused her dad to die. Plus, he promised her dad that he would look after Victoria. He's
watch her get written out in the worst way possible.
Watch her die. That would be terrible. But I think that combined with like the Doctor noticing how Jamie Lawson was like, "Doctor, you're kind of being sketch, and I don't want to always follow you blindly." The Doctor's kind of being more open and trying to be more of a good person to his companions, to like make up for the fact that when he was the first Doctor, he was kind of like, "Oh, you're leaving? That sucks." And
for the fact that last serial he manipulated Jamie into doing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and I think he's realized that, and he's like, "Wow, I'm actually kind of a bad person. I want to be a good one."
Yeah, I mean, if they go that way with the second Doctor, I'll really enjoy that. I mean, it's one thing because like his plans and stuff are really out there and insane and cool, and I'm like, wow, second Doctor, you're really doing that. But it'll be interesting if they actually take that a different way, where, like you were saying, he tries to be more down to earth, at least with his companions, and not do crazy stuff that puts them all in danger so much.
Right.
Because I honestly, I'd like to see that, but I'll be pretty surprised if they do go that way. Pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. Plus, I think also the fact that the Doctor keeps he's referenced his homeworld more as the second Doctor than he did as the first, is probably some sort of foreshadowing.
Yeah, I think they're leading up to something with that. Hopefully they are.
Yeah.
Hopefully they don't pull a Ben and Polly and set up all this character development and then never follow up on it. Which, not gonna lie, I'm not really expecting them to follow up on stuff right away. One, because the show is so long, and I know they have a bunch of time to do whatever they want, basically. And two, because they've like fell off the boat with character development before. I can see them doing it again.
Well, hopefully they don't, because I really want to see the second Doctor strive to be a better person. And I hope that's part of his character development through season 5 and 6. His final 2 seasons. So we're basically about a third of the way through the second Doctor.
Yeah.
Wow. When you put it like that, wow.
Yeah, I mean, his run is only about the same length as the first Doctor's. So his
run is like 21 serials, I think, ish.
I think it's
22.
A few shorter than the first.
Yeah, like three maybe, 3 or 4.
I mean, we started in January, and it took us about 6 months to finish the first.
Mm-hmm.
So by the end of the year, we'll probably be done with the second Doctor, or just finishing him up.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third is also about the same length as the first 2.
Even though his is spread over more seasons. Because the third is season 7 through 11, but each of the seasons is like average on 4-ish.
4 to 5
serials. So that also comes to around 20.
I mean, I guess the number of episodes would come into play, but we're just watching a serial a week, so episodes aren't really pertinent to how long we're going to be watching each Doctor for.
Yeah.
But like back in the day, the first would probably have been was around for a lot longer than the second, I believe.
Episodes-wise, maybe, probably.
Well, no, he was around from 63 to 66, and the second Doctor...
66 to 69.
So
they're both about 3 years.
About the same, I guess. But yeah, I mean, that's all I really have to say about this.
Yeah, pretty good start to season 5. Makes me excited.
Yeah, wasn't like superb, but it was solid.
I was reading that the guy got promoted to head script editor on the previous serial was able to produce this serial because they wanted to test him out as a possible replacement for Innes Lloyd at a later point in the season. And I think if this serial's anything to go on, I think that when he becomes producer, we'll probably get a couple of really good serials. Or at least I'm hoping for that to happen. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know when that happens, but it does happen at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, we got an email this week.
Yay! Sounded so unenthusiastic.
From Emily Budson. Or at least that's what the from says, and then the email is signed M. Maybe it's Moriarty.
Maybe they didn't want us to say their actual name, that's why they put M in the email. Well, it's too late now!
No going back.
Yeah, do you want to read it?
Sure. Dylan and Kiyan, you guys have the coolest accents. Thanks.
Thanks. Hopper had the coolest accent, though.
Dylan, I love how you do these little impersonations during the show. Can you guys do some more of that and maybe act out some of the more humorous parts of the serials? M. P.S. Loved Sunday show. Thanks.
Yeah.
Means a lot.
Hopefully our Hopper impersonations covered this episode.
Yeah. It's just something we do, I guess, so hopefully we won't stop. It does, I'm pretty sure it makes the summaries more entertaining than if we were just to sit here to go, and then blank happened, and then blank happened.
Yeah, as shoddy and disjointed as our summaries are, at least they're hopefully entertaining.
Well, that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
In regards to acting out some entertaining parts of the serial, we'll see about that.
Something I wanted to mention about the Cybermen. When they were dying, or when any of the Cybermen died, there was this weird, scream with their auto-tuned inflection or whatever their voices were supposed to be, and I thought that was really annoying. And because it went on for a while, like after each one of them died.
Didn't even notice.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to say about that.
Anyway,
yeah.
In regards to acting out seals, we'll see if there's an interesting scene, maybe. No promises, but we will look at it.
Probably just keep on doing the weird impersonation things, like with Hopper.
Or Zaroff.
Or
whatever.
Klieg. Well, we didn't
impersonate Klieg.
No.
I tried to impersonate Jamie last episode and came out Irish. You remember that? I stopped halfway through the sentence. Send us an email, thedoctor@decadentvegetable.com, even if it's just something silly like that. Like, hey, show was great. Means a lot.
Yeah.
Makes us want to keep going more than we already do. I mean, we keep going because it's fun, but if people like it, that's a plus.
Keep going because someone has a gun to our heads when we record these. No.
Whoa.
No.
Okay, email. You can check out the website, decadentvegetable.com. The kill count, death count, it's all up there. Check us out on Facebook. Trust your doctor. Fun facts. If you don't subscribe on iTunes and you want to know when the episodes go out, that gets posted on the Facebook page too. Which segues into subscribe on iTunes. You can find us on iTunes and Trust Your Doctor. Give us a rating, because if we have more ratings, then iTunes notices us, and if iTunes notices us, then we can put it on the front page, and that's pretty cool. And other than that, I don't think I have anything else to say.
Nope. But next week we continue with Season 5 with The Abominable Snowmen, so until then, the end.